Greetings gastronauts, this is KeefCooks, I'm Keith, and today I'm going to do something exotic from Sweden. I'm going to make Kålpudding. That's cabbage pudding to you and I, and it has got meat in it as well. So don't be running away, you non-vegetarians. Okay, before we start, quick shout out to my new Patreon fan, Freddie Collins, yay! And also to Jan Jordal, who has also recently become a Patreon fan. Yes! And he's Swedish and he sent this recipe. So originally, I just looked at the title and decided that I wasn't going to do it because vegetarian recipes don't do very well on the channel, actually. So I told him that, and he told me not to be so silly and to read the actual recipe, where you'll find that it's half and half cabbage, onion, and minced meat. So, nah. So there you go. I'm quite looking forward to this now. I think it'll be a bit tasty. If you enjoy this video, give it a like, share, subscribe, etc. And let's get on with it. Swedish cabbage pudding. Kålpudding. Now, before I show you the ingredients for the cabbage pudding, there's one that I need to get done first, which is a quantity of boiled rice. So in Jan's recipe, he's written it the way they do it in Sweden and Scandinavia, where litres are broken down into decilitres and centilitres and millilitres, which I find a bit baffling. For me, it's always a litre and then millilitres if it's less than that. So he's calling for 3 decilitres of cooked rice, and that's also odd because solid things shouldn't be measured by volume, they should be measured by weight. So that would be 300 millilitres, and I'm guessing that's equivalent to like 300 grams. We'll find out. But that's the cooked weight. So what I've got here is 125 grams of uncooked rice. I'm going to cook it up and then drain it and weigh it, and then we'll know. So pop the rice in a pan, pinch of salt, and water, twice as much water as there was rice. We'll put that on the stove, bring it to the boil, and then turn it down to a simmer with a lid on and let it simmer for 10 minutes. So here I've got the ingredients for the cabbage and onion layer. I've got 1 white cabbage, I've got 1 medium onion in instalments, I've got a couple of knobs of butter, pinch of salt, pinch of white pepper. In the recipe, Jan states 1 kilo of cabbage. I've only got 750 grams, but I'm sure it'll be okay. Okay, ingredients for the meaty part. I've got 250 grams of minced beef, 250 grams of minced pork. I guess you could vary those proportions. A medium onion in 2 installments, 300 ml of beef stock, and the cooked rice. I have weighed that and it actually came to 390 grams, so I'll use 3/4 of that because we want 300. Some fat to saute this stuff in. This is tallow, which is beef dripping. Jan says you can't get lard or pork dripping in Sweden, but you can get that if you can find it. Otherwise, use butter. He says don't use margarine, don't use oil. So that's you told. A pinch of salt, pinch of white pepper, and some syrup. Now in Sweden they use a thing called syrup. It's a sweet thing. And apparently this is a reasonable substitute, but I'm not going to use a lot of it because I don't like sweetness in savoury stuff very much. So yeah. Anyway, right, we need to chop things and cook things. Okay, I knew I'd forgotten something. You also need an egg. So I'll start making the meat mixture, and for that we need to pre-fry or sauté the onions. So peel them. And chop them. We need to fry the onion first, so melt a blob of fat in a frying pan on medium-low heat, and then add the onion and just let it cook for 5-10 minutes till it's soft and maybe a little bit brown. And then set it aside and let it cool down. So I've got the onions in a bowl there, cooling down, and now I'm going to mix everything else up. So get your meat, half teaspoon of salt, half teaspoon of white pepper. I mix those by hand because it's really the only way you can do it. Break the egg into it. Yeah. And we are looking for a kind of smooth, pasty consistency, so, you know, give it a good old squeeze. And add the onions and the rice. Remember, we've got more than we need here, so leave some of it in the bowl. Mixy mixy. Now we want to add the stock a bit at a time. Alright, so that's all the stock in, and Jan says it should have a soft consistency, mushy and smooth. So I think we've achieved that. So we'll set that aside and get on with the cabbage. Right, cabbage time. Da, 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 da. Oh. So we want to get the core removed. That's this chunk here. Because nobody wants to eat that. And then cut the leaves into little bits. And peel and dice the other onion. Yeah, I know it looks like the first one, because it is. Right, now we need to fry these off in the butter. There's a lot. I'm going to do it in 2 batches. So I'll take half the cabbage and half the onion, melt some butter in the pan, and let that saute gently. Again, just to soften it and not particularly make it brown. When it starts to soften, just add a splash of water, put a lid on, and just leave it on low heat for 5-10 minutes till it's really quite soft. And then take the lid off, and you'll see there's a little bit of moisture in the bottom of the pan. Just let that evaporate. Then take everything out of the pan and cook the second batch. Just realised we haven't seasoned it, so add a bit of salt and a bit of pepper. Okay, time to put it all together and cook it, or bake it. So you need your oven heated to 160 degrees Celsius for a fan oven, a convection oven, or 180 for a normal one, and that's gas 4. So Jan says that most recipes he's seen, they use a higher temperature and a shorter time, and you end up with black cabbage on the top of your cabbage pudding, which isn't nice. So lower temperature for longer time. To assemble it, just chuck the first batch of cabbage in an oven-proof dish, casserole type thing. It's not exactly the way I thought it was. It's like lasagna. There's not that many layers. It's only cabbage, meat, and more cabbage. So, pop the meat in. There seems to be an awful lot, but... Okay, nice flat top, and put the second batch of cabbage on top of that, and drizzle your syrup all over it. That goes in the oven for 1 hour. Check on it about halfway through. If it looks like it's getting too much brown on top, too much brown, put a lid on it or cover it with foil. Now your cabbage pudding is served with gravy, which I'll show you how to make, and lingonberry jam, which you can get from IKEA. If you can't get that, you can use cranberry sauce or cranberry jam. That'll work just as fine. It's a sharp and sweet counterpoint to the probably greasy cabbage pudding. And also boiled potatoes. You know how to do that, don't you? So I won't show you. Anyway, for the gravy, we've got half a litre of chicken stock. That's half a litre of water and 2 chicken stock cubes, 50 grams of flour, 50 grams of butter, a bit of salt, a bit of white pepper, and maybe a splash of soy sauce just to darken the colour a bit. So to make the gravy, melt the butter in a saucepan, then stir in the flour and you'll get a thick paste. Let that cook for a few minutes until it turns quite dark brown and smells a bit nutty. And then add the stock, stir that in and it'll thicken up. Stir in a splash of soy sauce, season it with salt and pepper, and right at the end just take it off the heat and stir in a tablespoon or two of double cream, heavy cream. And that's your gravy, just the way that IKEA make it. Right, time's up for the cabbage pudding, so let's take it out. Right, I'm going to leave that to cool down and firm up a little bit, and then we'll chop it up and taste it. See you later. Okay, we're just waiting for the potatoes to be boiled into submission. Let's have a look at our cabbage pudding, which is mostly meat. Oh yeah. Here we go then. Taste test time. Cabbage pudding. Let's have a bit from the top that had the syrup on it. That's actually really nice. Possibly a bit under-seasoned, it's quite bland. Not wrong with that, I like it. Maybe we should petition IKEA to start doing it in their cafes. So there we go, cabbage pudding, who'd have thunk it? Anyway, thanks for watching, see you next time.